Hello and welcome to another episode of our MLB show here on Spanish Sports World. My name is Jeremy Scholler. And this is officially our second episode since the start of the MLB season. Last week we went over some very early beginning stages of the season predictions, things to look out for, etc. And this week we have about a week or so of the season. Most teams have played somewhere between 8 and 10 games. Um, Not every game, but most teams have. So a little bit to look on. 1 week or so into the season, about 10 days into the season. We have some surprises, some not. For example, the Dodgers, who some of the heaviest favorites to win their division of any team in recent sports history, as they always have been. They've won 8 straight division titles. They're 8-2 starting the season. 8-2, and just getting their World Series championship rings after sweeping the Nationals at home in this weekend series. The Reds, 6-3. The Reds having not made the playoffs in a while until last year, but with the extended playoffs. But the Reds, 6-3. On top of that, cluttered NL Central. Really looks like every single team will be in contention, other than of course Pittsburgh, who is expected really to lose over 100 games. In the NL East, Philadelphia, who now holds the longest playoff drought in the National League, after Miami and San Diego made the postseason last year. Philadelphia holding the longest postseason drought there at 6-3, whereas Washington, the last full season World Series champion, falling to just 1-5 after a tough start to the season for them, with 3 games postponed against the Mets due to COVID issues, and then beating the Braves on opening day in a walk-off, and then of course getting swept in a doubleheader by the Braves the next day, and then getting swept in Los Angeles, as I mentioned. So some rough starts for them. In the American League, Houston and the Angels both starting 6-3. The Angels, I think, really anybody outside the AL West would love the Angels to do well for multiple reasons. One, Mike Trout, who is the consensus best player in baseball, has never won a postseason game. He's been in the league for about 10 years now. Played 3 postseason games. That was back in 2014 against the Royals. The year the Royals went to the World Series as a wildcard team. The Royals swept the Angels. So that year the Angels finished with the best record in baseball. Didn't win a playoff game. Mike Trout has never played in one since. So it would be awesome to see him make a deep playoff run with the Angels. And also, of course, for Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani has the dual pitching hitting threat. Last week, his game against the White Sox was sensational. Just Sunday Night Baseball last week. I spoke about this last week, but it was so historic. I want to touch on it again. Two-way sensation. I mean, he's been DH. The way they've been doing it until this season has been Shohei would DH, off day, pitch, off day, DH. So he basically would be a starting pitcher, have a Brewers with DH that day, and he would get a day off before and after, and then DH the other days. This year, against the White Sox last week, they tried to have him do both in one day, and it was amazing. I mean, Sunday Night Baseball in front of a national TV audience on ESPN, struck out 7 over 4 2/3, hit 100 miles an hour 9 times, which was a record for most times a player hit 100 miles an hour in a game this season. And in addition to that, he hit a home run that had the fastest exit velocity of any home run this season. So he was dominating from the plate, from the mound, really just amazing. And batting in the 2 spot was the first time that a pitcher had done that in over 100 years. So really amazing to see, and it would just be awesome for them to make the playoffs. Obviously, extremely early in the season, the Angels tied for the division lead with the Astros. If the Angels can hit about 91 wins this season, I think that would be the goals. It would probably be 89. I would guess would be the fewest. But if you can hit around 91, you should have a good shot at the playoffs. Probably something more like 95 should pretty much guarantee a playoff spot. But Texas, as expected, not a good start to the season for them. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the American League. Oakland, shockingly, they haven't just been bad. They've been blown out of games, 1-6 at home, minus 32 run differential from 10 games. So that was just ridiculous. Then their 7 losses, they're averaging losing those games by 4.5 runs. Up in the AL Central, Cleveland and Kansas City, surprisingly, at the top of that division at 5-3 and 4-3, followed by the Twins and White Sox. We'll touch on the Twins in a second. The White Sox, of course, were the favorite from that division. They were the 3rd best odds to win the American League. But not looking too great for them in the start. Obviously super early, and they start a series with the Indians coming up with the first place Indians coming up later tonight. In the AL East, the Orioles getting off to a great start this season, sweeping the Red Sox in Boston before losing to the Yankees, losing a couple of the Yankees. But the Orioles, Yankees, Rays, and Blue Jays all at 4-5 in that division. And the Red Sox on a 6-game winning streak after starting the season with a sweep at the hands of the Orioles at home. Where the Red Sox haven't won six straight, and the Red Sox were supposed to start a series in Minnesota with the Twins tonight, but of course that has not happened. As you may have heard, it is some of the biggest news in sports today. Multiple games have been postponed, as the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild postponed their game. The Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins postponed their game. Aaron Hicks of the New York Yankees, formerly of the Twins, told manager Aaron Boone that that they want to that he didn't want to play today. He just didn't feel it was in his best interest to play. Of course, all this stemming from reactions to the police killing of Dante Wright in Minnesota last night. So now 3 games have been postponed. All 3 games in Minnesota. The Blues, Wild, the Timberwolves, Nets, and the Twins, Red Sox all being postponed today. So the Twins, Red Sox. Now this year so far, we've had weather cancellations, we've had COVID cancellations, we've had this sort of a social atmosphere related issue cancellations of games, and it has and will continue to affect the league, as the Twins and Red Sox still have not announced when their next game will be. As it was announced earlier today, as the Twins released a few statements regarding the game. Specifically, don't want to misquote or something like this. So the Twins statement was, quote, out of respect for the tragic events that occurred yesterday in Brooklyn Center and following the additional details in this evolving situation, the Minnesota Twins have decided it is in the best interest of our fans, staff, players, and community to not play today's game. The decision was made by the Minnesota Twins after consultation with Major League Baseball and local and state officials. Information regarding the rescheduling of today's game and corresponding ticket details will be released in the near future. The Minnesota Twins organization extends its sympathies to the family of Dante Wright. So essentially, the Twins didn't feel it was appropriate for them to play their game against the Red Sox tonight, and they also didn't really want to speculate on, this is when the game will next be. It's not like this is just a pause. They kind of wanted to accept this idea that there was more point than that. So obviously, an extremely sensitive situation. So we do not know yet when the Twins and Red Sox will play their game, but whenever it is, that will be a big game, as it is the Twins at 5-4, who coming off great seasons, where they had won 100 games in the past, winning 36 games last year in the shortened season, winning the division. 2019 as well. 2019 they won over 100 games. So the Twins, obviously extremely relevant. The favorite to win that division right up there with the White Sox, and the Red Sox at 6-3 on the longest winning streak in baseball at a 6-game winning streak. So this will be a big series whenever it does get played, but we do not have any idea when that will be. The Red Sox as well. This statement, the Red Sox had said that they were happy to agree and follow whatever the Twins thought was appropriate, and they will be staying in Minnesota and playing whatever game would be postponed to. So, unfortunate situation, but from a baseball perspective, that is what happened, and the game will be postponed until whenever it is announced that it will be made up. Some other big news back into the actual baseball aspect. Braves Phillies Sunday Night Baseball last night. Spectacular game, great. We've had 2 spectacular games, Sunday Night Baseball games to start the year. First was the Shohei Ohtani game I mentioned earlier in Angels White Sox, and of course the second one last night, Braves Phillies back and forth game, ending with a Phillies win, 6-5 last night, but ended after the Phillies were able to score a late run or 7-6, excuse me. 7-6, Phillies beat the Braves. Back and forth game as the Braves went up 3-0 in the first, and the Phillies kind of clawed back with 1 in the second and 4 in the fourth to go up 5-3, and the Braves come back 2, make it 5-5, and the Phillies took the lead. And it was a very, very back and forth game, a very well pitched game from Matt Moore and Drew Smiley, lefty matchup, but ending in an unfortunate way as Alec Boehm tagging up from third base late in the game to give the Phillies the go-ahead run. In the top of the ninth, Alec Boehm on third base, high ball to left fielder Marcelo Zuna, who notoriously does not have a good arm. So Boehm attempted to go home after Ozuna caught the ball, and it was pretty clear he was out. I mean, he never really even touched the plate. It was a close play, but he never really. There's no clear angle of him even touching the plate, and it was kind of obvious he was out. They went to the replay booth and ended up calling him safe. So a tough call because MLB kind of clashes with itself often. They'll say we want to speed up the game. We don't want games to be taken forever. But then they'll do replay. They'll replay come in where you just have I'm standing around with headsets on for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, nothing happening. And if you're going to do that, it's kind of a trade-off. If you're going to do that, you better get the call right. At this time, they had the umps look at everything and have the challenge system, and then they called him safe, which he wasn't. And it was at this point, pretty universally agreed upon that he wasn't safe. So, an unfortunate kind of cloud to hang over that game. But still, a lot of fun in that game last night. Bryce Harper, 1 for 4 with a home run. Hoskins hit a home run as well. Didi Gregorius. Then from the Braves side, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman defending MLB MVP. They were just kind of teeing off on Sam Coonrod. But before the game, the Braves receiving their Gold Glove and Silver Slugger and MVP awards. As the Braves have had a ton of them yesterday. As they had 4 Silver Slugger award winners. Freddie Freeman, of course, winning MVP. Ronald Acuna, Travis d'Arnaud, just all over the place. The Braves have had so much regular season success. It's kind of crazy that they haven't found any postseason success, but they haven't. So Braves are receiving all of their awards last night, and the Braves are still the team to beat in the NL East. The NL East is always going to be a competitive division, and it's never going to be kind of a given like some other divisions. Like the NL West has been for years, or the AL West has been for years, or the AL Central. It seems very clear that like Detroit, Kansas City, and probably Cleveland won't win it in the AL East. It's like kind of seems like it's just Boston, New York, and then maybe Tampa, Toronto. Whereas the NL East is kind of always going to be competitive. The Braves are certainly the team to beat. They're the favorite, but the Mets have improved. The Marlins made the playoffs last year. They've improved. Washington just won the World Series, the last full season, and they added a bunch of additions this year. And the Phillies are first place right now. The Phillies haven't made the playoffs in 10 years, so they've improved a lot. They just need some pitching. They kind of are starting to get at least average pitching, which might be all they need. So the NL East, I think, is going to be the division to watch for sure. Because we have possibly 5 teams that could stay competitive for at least maybe 125 games. I think the Marlins and probably either the Mets or Nationals or Phillies will fall out of it after maybe August, but you never know. So the NL East is definitely the division to watch for. Also, Washington they had those COVID issues earlier in the year, and when they had started the season against the Mets, they have announced a few guys coming back from the COVID list. As the Nationals, as I said, 1-5, so a tough start of the season, but they've been out of so many players, and then had to go to play the Dodgers in Los Angeles. But the Nationals now bringing back Josh Bell, Josh Harrison, Kyle Schwarber, and these are all 2 of these guys, Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber, the Nats just signed this year, and one of them, Josh Harrison, they just signed from last year. So Josh Bell, he's going to jump in and play first base. Kyle Schwarber will get some time in left. Harrison will will get some time, probably second short and third, with Hernan Perez, who really is not a starting quality player, has been playing quite a bit for the Nationals, frankly, too much. If you look at the Nats kind of opening day rosters, you see they had guys playing who really didn't deserve to. Just they shouldn't be on an MLB roster, but that's just kind of what the situation they're put in with the COVID situation. But even yesterday or and Saturday, when they're playing in Los Angeles, playing the best team in the league, defending World Series champion, who wasn't even playing two of their best players. Like Mookie Betts not in the lineup. Um, I mean, this is the Dodgers lineup: Chris Taylor, Corey Seager, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Max Muncy, AJ Pollock, Gavin Lux, and then McKinstry. That's a rookie, Zach McKinstry, who hammered them, hit 2 home runs in the series. That lineup is nowhere near the Dodgers' best lineup, but because they were playing on that lineup with Robles, Turner, Soto, Zimmerman, and then Starlin Castro, Jordy Mercer, Hernan Perez, Yan Gomes, guys like this, and then you have Yadiel Hernandez and Finnegan and Clay pitching. This is just the Nationals in this current lineup. They'd probably lose 95 games, but that's just the situation they were put in. But now it is huge for them to be getting Josh Bell, Josh Harrison, Kyle Schwarber back to the lineup as they go to face St. Louis. So the Nationals sitting at 1-5 absolutely need a series win just kind of to regain some confidence and to get used to these new regulars. Josh Harrison, of these 3 guys, has played maybe 25, 30 games with the team, and he's played more than anyone. And the Nationals are up 1-0 right now over St. Louis. But Harrison, Schwarber, Bell will be welcome additions to the team as the Nats finish up this 6-game road trip. I'm hoping for a split, because that would mean they would sweep St. Louis. They're up 1-0 in the first inning right now. And then after the series against the Cardinals, they'll have 4 over the weekend at home against the Diamondbacks, and then welcome the Cardinals back to Nationals Park. So the Nats are looking to avoid kind of falling apart in this road trip, as they play the Cardinals again tomorrow, and then on Wednesday afternoon at 1. So big additions for the Nats. The only player, they still have 1 player left on the COVID IL list. That would be John Lester, who, of course, a veteran reliever who they signed last offseason. But he should come back. Veteran starter. He signed this past offseason. He should be back within the next, hopefully, 4 to 8 days, maybe. But really, the Bell Schwarber Harrison addition is monumental. And especially, it's unfortunate for them they had to play Los Angeles without them. But St. Louis, Arizona, St. Louis again. That's 10 pivotal games that the Nats should really hope with this roster, assuming they stay healthy, to go 7-3 in. Win at least 3 against Arizona, I would expect. But MLB, very good to have it back this season, as back into kind of the more normal schedule after the COVID season last year, the 60-game shortened schedule. Teams playing for 62 games, primarily in their respective leagues. Also, no DH this year. That could be changed next year, for better or for worse. But no DH in the National League this year. So baseball is back, and we are getting into the swing of things. And it's great to see as we're getting guys off the IL list, fans back in stadiums. Every single stadium has some amount of fans, and that'll do it. We have the rest of the season to watch. So thank you for following along and watching with us today. Once again, my name is Jeremy Scholler. We'll be here same time, same place, here on English Sports World, 7:30 next Monday, and we'll see you there.